sort of makes my throat feel good, and they're called vocal zones. So we were a hot group called the Vocal Zones.
Where am I? Okay.
Is it all right, John? Yeah.
This is a break.
Okay.
Okay, Do Re Mi was the other big number shot on location, and again, very different from the stage show. And several locations started on another mountaintop.
Right. Do Re Mi was shot all over Salzburg, and that was the best fun to shoot. It was lots and lots of little scenes, a complete montage of visual shots of Salzburg and around it. And it was heavenly, because all one had to do was a little bit here and a little bit there, and yet suddenly when the whole song came together, I had no idea it was going to be as powerful as it was, and I think it came together wonderfully. It was a joy to shoot, and the kids were fun, and there was just a lot of good times on that movie. The kids were adorable. I mean, well, I go on and on about them.
Let's keep on that track,
Okay.
Because we'll talk about my favorite things now, and you should know that Bob gives you full credit for getting these kids warmed up. Because my favorite things was like the second or third date.
That's right. That's right.
And he gives you full credit.
Oh, how sweet.
Them and tickling them and
Then, yeah, I did try, because they were as nervous as I was, and he gave me something to do. We really all got to know each other on the very first number that we shot on the film, which was My Favorite Things. And I was nervous, and the children certainly were nervous, and that's supposed to be such a joyous, easygoing song. And when it came time for individual close-ups or moments when we were all tumbling on the bed, I felt stiff, and I know perhaps the kids did a little bit too. So I did my best to jolly them along. I would pull silly faces off camera to make them smile. I would tickle them. I would try to sort of make us feel like a jolly, happy group, and it worked. And I think it cemented a friendship that has gone on for the last 30 years. We adore each other. The only shock to me is that all these tiny children who stay fixed in my memory have all grown into these lovely adult human beings, and I sometimes don't recognize them.
Your 8 minutes up yet, Jose? Okay. Okay, let's now talk about doing Lonely Goatherd with the puppet show.
Oh, yeah.
How did you do that? What was that like? Singing and yodeling.
Okay. Let me just give it some thought. The Lonely Goatherd was fun to do, because of course we had to manipulate the puppets, which we had to be taught obviously how to do, and it was a little bit like patting your head and rubbing your tummy and trying to do it all while looking very graceful. It was hard to sing and yodel and maneuver the puppets so that they looked real. It was quite a strenuous thing to shoot. I found it kind of tiring, because we were all jammed in a very, very small area, and there was just a lot to work out technically more than anything else. And I remember at the end of it, I thought, Maria really would be exhausted at the end of this. I mean, she would have had to have taught the children the song, and she would have had to do all the things that we were trying to get on film. And so I thought, well, I'm going to show her exhaustion. And Bob Wise, I think, thought that I'd gone a bit too far, because I came around the corner of the little mock theatre practically on my knees, but I think he kept that take in. He eventually liked it a lot. And I was exhausted, and I figured she would be too. And I also thought that 7 children would be exhausting for Maria. When the Mother Abbess says, you're going to work for 7 children, I really think that Maria would have said, 7 children? I mean, that's not an easy thing to comprehend, and it was daunting, to say the least.
Also, little things like when Kurt asks Maria to teach him the dance, she's like, oh, and when they say, oh, what kind of things do you think of, and she's like, oh, this exasperation that you brought to it that show that this is quite a thing to handle.
Yeah, I thought that it might help once in a while to look just a mite exasperated or a little bit exhausted or whatever with 7 kids, and it wasn't a bad thing. One of the things I remember that was hilarious again was shooting in Salzburg, and that was the boat sequence, and coming home to the villa. Thank you. I didn't want to say Schloss or whatever. Coming home to the villa, we were all rowing in a boat, and Christopher Plummer is waiting on the sidewalk, very angry at us for having been gallivanting around the countryside in the bedroom curtains. And I think the first thing was that I was asked if I would please look after Kim, the baby, the smallest of the children, because she couldn't swim. So when I fell out of the boat, the minute I surfaced, would I please grab the little girl? And we obviously did several takes, and I managed. But the final take, the boat rocked so violently that I went over the wrong side of the boat, and Kim went over the other side of the boat. And there was this awful moment when I thought, my God, where am I and where is she? And I managed to find this gasping little girl who was just about done in, I think, or done for. And we took her to the bank, and she was fine, thank God. Places that we were going to have to shoot.
Okay. One more song we can talk about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Something Good, another new one written for the movie, replacing the one that had been in the play.
Is it all right to talk about the terrible arcs that kept making
Yes, please.
Okay.
So, yeah, and the kiss that took several takes.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, I'm no fool. Yes.
Christopher was very, he was commenting about how you have to sing this intimate song and you're right there, and he said it was just impossible.
Impossible, yeah. One of the songs that was done actually in Hollywood on the soundstage, apart from my favorite things, was I Must Have Done Something Good. Is that what it's called, by the way?
Something Good.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Was Something Good. And it was filmed in this beautiful rotunda that was supposedly in the garden of the villa. And that came quite close to the end of the film, and it was a very long shoot. How long were we shooting for in all? 16 weeks? 20 weeks, maybe. Yeah. It was a very long shoot altogether. I mean, I think in all it was just under 5 months. We took a small break when we came back from Salzburg and started shooting again, and it took us a while to get going again, but by the end of almost 5 months I was exhausted and feeling a bit wobbly and slightly vulnerable, and we got inside this beautiful set. And in order to get the effect of moonlight, our director of photography had tipped a lot of really huge arcs, the great big spotlights, straight downwards. And in those days, those spotlights were lit by carbons that rubbed together. I don't think they have them these days, but in those days they did. And because they were tipped at such a steep angle, the carbons occasionally would make this terrible squeaking noise or groaning noise, and it eventually sounded as if someone was making a comment on the scene, because we would be doing the most lovely sort of loving things and saying, oh, I love you, and I love you too, and you'd hear what sounded like a really rotten raspberry from the background. And since Chris and I were in tremendous close-up and slightly out of focus with each other anyway, it was impossible to look into each other's eyes and hear this comment in the background and keep a straight face. Because I was tired, I got the giggles. And I got the giggles so badly, and Chris also, I have to say, was no help. And we simply collapsed. I had tears running down my face, and it was such an important scene, and I felt such a fool. There was nothing I could do about it.